Vale, tenemos que hablar con el pana que hace apuestas. Por allí. Y me he caído al agua. Guay.
Why, hello there, honored customers. Welcome to... Oh, it's you, Miss Yanfei. Is something the matter?
Hermano, cayó la ley. Está enfrente en tu casa.
Surely not more spurious claims that my jade betting is rigged and no one can ever win? Oh,
Solito te
I swear
desvelas.
on all that is...
No, nothing of the sort. Has a Snezhnyan merchant named Kross enlisted your ore processing services recently by any chance?
A Snezhnyan merchant named Kross, you say? I do remember that. He brought me a piece of ore, claiming that it was smaragdus jadeite. That was the first time I'd ever encountered it, so I had no way of telling if it was really smaragdus jadeite or not. But if a customer insists, far be it from me to contradict them. He was quite generous with his money too, so I didn't give it too much thought. I processed the ore as per his request.
Do you have any leftover debris from your work on it?
Why, yes. It was my first time encountering this ore, after all, so I kept a few loose shavings to study myself later. They're right over there, in fact.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a look at them.
A ver, veamos qué chucha hay con estas esquirlas. Son de color verde, puedo notarlo. Verde jare para ser más preciso.
If my eyes don't deceive me, the cross sections and
Nefrita.
patterns suggest that these are smaragdus nephrite shavings. Yes, it's not particularly rare, nor is it especially valuable. It's used to make jewelry all the time.
O sea, era
It's said
falso.
that smaragdus nephrite is in fact the outer layer of smaragdus jadeite, though no one's ever proven it.
A thin layer of separation, huh?
If you must see for yourself, try examining these shavings for traces of elemental energy. Smaragdus nephrite is an entirely ordinary ore, containing no elemental energy whatsoever.
Of course.
That's so. Well,
Exacto,
we might
eso
as
es
well
lo que
get
estaba
all
diciendo
of
hace un
the
inicio.
side shot.
Usar visión elemental y ahí buscar quién chucha tiene la
So,
huevada.
did you find anything?
No hay rastro de nada, está más vacío que mi corazón. Bueno, de hecho más vacío que el corazón de Roxas, que es un nobody y es una referencia a Kingdom Hearts.
So they
Tiempo
really
Sora.
are different. But wait, how come Jichao was able to tell what it was just by looking at the shards? That's pretty awesome.
There's nothing special to it. It just so happens that I've come across a great many of these in my time.
Entonces, ¿por qué Shito no supo diferenciarlas? Porque es un estafador. Él se encarga de estafar.
These two stones actually look very similar. Someone without a deep understanding of them would find it very difficult to tell them apart. There may be only a subtle difference for the casual viewer, but that translates to an astronomical difference in terms of the market price, and, I'm sure, a significant difference in the cost of having them carved into shape.
Alright, let's focus up. We're going off on a tangent.
But never mind, Shirto. Why would Mr.
Estafa,
Kross...
te quiere estafar.
Unusual actions have unusual reasons behind them. Let's take some of these shavings back to Chateau.
Shito, me temo que a ti te han estafado. De la misma manera que tú has estado estafando a muchos
Miss
individuos aquí.
Yanfei? Might I be so bold as to inquire?
If you could just confirm for me once more, sir. Mr. Kross did indeed claim that the ore he brought to your store was in fact smaragdus jadeite, did he not?
Yes, that's right. I still have a record of the job with me, in fact. Here. It says quite clearly, 1 chunk smaragdus jadeite, uncut.
Uncut.
Then I have no further questions. But could I borrow the processing
Sí,
record
es
and these stone
evidencia del
shavings?
crimen.
Of course. But might I ask why you need them?
Oh, I have my reasons. Yes. Please sign here on this affidavit. This document
He
shall
firmado un
serve as
montón de
signed
esas huevadas
proof that these stone
últimamente.
shavings originated from the, ore that Mr. Kross brought to your store. Please read it carefully.
Yes, I see. Forgive me for asking again, Miss Yanfei, but might I know the nature of the incident on this occasion?
No es de tu incumbencia.
I wouldn't say there's been an incident, just a minor issue. Thank you, sir. I'll take these with me.
With this hard evidence to back us up, Kross won't dare try to deny what
On the contrary, this is far from sufficient to build a case. We need to find something a little more compelling. If you want to make jewelry, you need a professional jewelsmith. Let me think. Jewelry. Nope. Aha! Got it! Sinxie. She often helps people to find a jewelsmith. Let's go pay her a visit.
Well, that was quick. How come you know so many people?
Es un
Because
adeptus,
lots of
tiene
people come to me for
habilidades.
legal advice every day. As you know, Liyue Harbor is the city of contracts. And contracts, well, I should say laws,
Leyes.
are very important
Eso se llama
to us.
preciso, Liyue es ciudad de los leyes,
But
algo
the
así.
amendments made by the Tianquan to our laws are unnecessarily complicated. How can I put this? It just seems like they're hard to understand and impossible to finish.
Esta ciudad necesita más una nueva constitución que mi país, siendo honesto.
As such, legal advisors like myself provide quite the popular service indeed.
So you help them make sense of the law. But didn't you say that it's hard to understand and impossible to finish?
Yes, well, that's no obstacle because I've memorized all the legal codices.
You memorized them?
You sound surprised. Knowing the law inside out is a legal advisor's bread and butter, you know?
Claro, aparte de que justamente los estudiantes de leyes tienen que leerse toda la constitución cada día y otros libros que tienen huellas legislativas, y por eso es que no quiero meterme en ese asunto. Pero solamente diré que tanto a mi mamá como a mi papá le han mandado de tarea para educación cívica leerse toda la constitución y hacerle un examen al respecto sobre eso. Eso sí era un infierno para ese entonces. Ahora educación cívica creo que ni siquiera existe como curso. Así que eres una adepta del código legal.
Oh, this has nothing to do with being an adeptus. I just like reading things.
Creo que tiene algo que ver con su
Again,
habilidad.
that casual tone.
Well, that's that then. Let's go look
Se
for
lo toma tan en
Sinxie.
serio el tema de ser un adeptus. Lo cual está bien para su personaje. A ver, hablar con Shinji ahora, que está por allí. Estás acá, jefa de joyas Minshin.
Oh, Miss Yenfei, it's you. Has something happened? Did the client from last time,
Have no further trouble from then on? Yes, of course. I'm just here to ask you a few questions. Has a merchant by the name of Kross asked you to put him in contact with a jewelsmith recently?
Kross? Yes, I remember him. He's a merchant from Snezhnaya, no?
Sí.
Yeah, he came to me with a chunk of something he called smaragdus jadeite. The design of the hairpins that he gave me was quite intricate, so it took me some work to find someone who was up to the job. Eventually, I found an older jewelsmith who made them exactly according to his specifications. This order was on hold for a very long time, and only completed quite recently, which is why I remember it so well.
Doesn't seem like there's any evidence to be found here.
Miss Sinxie, I'd like for you to confirm for me once more. When Mr. Kross commissioned you to find him a jewelsmith, did he or did he not assert that the material he presented to you that day was called
Exacto.
smaragdus jadeite?
Necesitamos un testimonio.
Yes, I'm sure of it. The hairpins were made using many expensive materials, and the asking price was quite high, so we had to put this transaction on record with the Ministry of Civil Affairs. Mr. Kross wasn't very familiar with the necessary procedures, so I filed it on his behalf. I also kept a copy for my own records. See for yourself, the item is called Smaragdus Jadeite Twin Phoenix Pins.
Justo
The inlaid
necesitamos
gemstone is recorded
un
as
papel.
Smaragdus Jadeite. The document even has the official seal of the ministry on it.
Thank you, Sinxie.
Que al parecer
Now,
tiene
could you
errores
let me
de
borrow
gráficos.
this document?
Sure, it isn't serving
Le
much
sacaremos
purpose
copia
here
y se lo
anyway.
devolveremos.
I take it then that there's been some more trouble?
Sí.
Nothing you need to worry about. Just a minor issue.
Uno pequeñito
I'll return
nomás.
your document as soon as I'm done with it. Thanks again.
Why is everyone's first reaction always to assume someone or something is in trouble?
A ver, ¿para qué chucha consultas a un asesor legal? Exacto, porque parece que te va a caer la ley y están justo en tu casa.
I believe we have almost all the evidence we need. We just need to make one last trip. Let's go to Boo Boo Pharmacy to speak with Dr. Baiju.
¿Qué chucha tiene que ver una farmacia con joyas?
The weirdo with the snake around his neck? What do you want to speak to him for?
Because only he can provide an authoritative statement confirming that smaragdus jadeite is harmful to the human body.
Claro.
Once we have this final piece of evidence in our hands, we can wrap this case up.
Claro, tiene sentido porque la radiación elemental puede causar cosas malas para la gente común de aquí, de Lille. Y la farmacia estaba por acá, si no me equivoco, ¿dónde me va a estar? No sé, por acá arriba, ¿no? Para eso necesitamos una receta médica.
My, to what do I owe the pleasure? Though I'm afraid that if you're looking for our little Chi-Chi, she's out gathering herbs. And if it isn't Miss Yenfei as well, now that's an even rarer honor. What business brings you here, might I inquire? Some charlatans peddling ineffectual medicines again, no doubt?
Me junges. Buena manera de censurar la palabra con M-T-A-F-N y lo que sea.
No. I'm
Que
here this
hablé
time to
mucho
ask
en
if
la
you're
serie Breaking
familiar
Bad.
with Smaragdus
Sería
Jadeite.
recomendadísima.
Smaragdus Jadeite? Why, yes, there is some information about it included in the 6th commentary on the 7 Mountain Treatises. The 7 Mountain Treatises states that this substance springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains, and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. It is abundant in elemental energy, so if someone without a vision is in contact with it for a prolonged period, best case scenario, they fall ill. Worst case scenario, they'll suffer great changes in personality and their illness will only ever get worse. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't come all this way just to chit-chat. Knowing you, Yenfei, and given the specific nature of your question, I suppose that you're about to ask me to write an official affidavit attesting to the pharmaceutical peculiarities of Smaragdus Jadeite?
Sí, necesitamos papeles y
That is
muchos de
indeed the
esos.
case. If you would be so kind, Dr. Baiju.
No trouble at all. It's just a single document. Won't take me a moment. I would mention, though, that you are not the only one who's developed a curiosity for Smaragdus Jadeite recently. A Snezhnayan merchant came to ask me about it not long ago. But after I gave him my reply, his expression shifted to one of remarkable disappointment.
O sea, él sabe que las gemas esas son falsas.
I wonder, Miss Yenfei, if your pressing business might be related to this Snezhnayan merchant?
Ah, you needn't concern yourself about that, Dr. Baiju. Thank you for penning us that document. I'll make sure to compensate you in due course.
You're too kind. Take care now.
Interesante,
Baiju guy is
interesante.
as weird as ever.
Sí, pero nos ha
Is
dado
it
algo
just
que
Paimon,
necesitamos.
or does it feel like he was fishing for something back there? But I don't want to.
Dr. Baiju's always been like that. Well,
Sí.
we have the evidence we need. Let's go find
Vayamos
Mr. Kross.
donde Carrion Kross. Oh, Carrion Kross. ¿Dónde chucha estás? Ya se te cayó la ley. Sabemos de que es un estafador de miércoles.
Miss Yenfei, have you finished your investigation? I trust you will now be in a position to assess the compensation due.
Sí, estamos en derechos.
Yes, my investigation is indeed concluded. I can now provide a final figure for the amount payable.
Wonderful. Well then, please, could you do the honors, Miss Yenfei?
Of course. According to the stipulations of the contract, Mr. Krossel, you must pay Mr. Chow 10 times the original transaction price in Mora.
Sure. Wait, what? Me pay her? Surely there's been some kind of mistake, Miss Yenfei.
Objection!
Not at all. According to my investigations and the material evidence that we've gathered, the substance claimed to be Smaragdus Jadeite that was inlaid within the Smaragdus Jadeite twin phoenix pins that you rented out to Mr. Chow was, in fact, Smaragdus Nephrite. Now, the contract states very clearly that 10 times the price shall be paid should the article not be genuine. Accordingly, you are liable for this sum, which is payable to Mr. Chow in Mora.
Material evidence? What material evidence? Why, Miss Yanfei, you cannot frame me like this. I spent a huge sum to obtain that Smaragdus Jadeite, and yet you claim that the ore inlaid on the hairpins is somehow fake? I demand to see your evidence.
Indeed. Only a testimony from an expert witness involved in the processing of the ore can serve as an authoritative assessment of whether it is genuine. Traveler, please produce the evidence in question.
Por supuesto, abogada Yanfei. Estas son las pruebas del misterio del jade.
This is a processing record from the Jade Mystery, along with stone samples and an affidavit signed by the business owner, Chateau.
Seriously? Even the boss there couldn't differentiate between Smaragdus Jadeite and Smaragdus Nephrite. How does this prove anything? In any case, Smaragdus Nephrite is the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite. So I had him cut away the Nephrite. He returned the valuable
Me voy a mamar
Jadeite ore to me,
con la
and
música de
some
fondo de
Nephrite
Ace
samples
Attorney,
remain in the
weón.
store. What am I missing exactly?
That's an unsubstantiated belief.
Well, your claim that my ore is fake is just as unsubstantiated. And we are here to talk about evidence, aren't we?
Ugh. Looks like our first piece of evidence didn't convince him at all. Seems like he came prepared.
Hard evidence, something legally binding. We have just the thing. Show him, traveler.
Las joyas Mingxi.
This
Acá
document
tenemos algo.
proves that my hairpins are the real deal, doesn't it? This is the Ministry's seal, after all. It shows that the ore inlaid on the pins is indeed Smaragdus Jadeite.
Our second piece of evidence didn't work either. And this guy's getting more
Vale, debía haber
belligerent by the
empezado con
second.
la huevada América en ese caso.
You know, you could be right. Perhaps the hairpins are the real deal after all.
Sí, son horquillas, pero no de jadeíta.
Of course I'm right. All the evidence shown supports my story.
Well, hang on a moment now, because I do recall one final piece of evidence that we haven't revealed yet. Traveler, would you do the honors? This shall serve as decisive proof of our case.
Señor, de seguro usted ha tenido dolores de cabeza, mareos, cualquier síntoma relacionado con una enfermedad que no puedo decir porque si no YouTube se pone sensible. Porque eso es lo que pasa cuando una persona entra en contacto con la jadeíta, de acuerdo a este documento de la farmacia Bubu.
What's this?
Lo que he dicho antes, un documento de la farmacia Bubu.
Smaragdus Jadeite springs forth from stone marrow
Hello,
within
Yampi.
the mountains and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. Sustained contact with Smaragdus Jadeite over a prolonged period will, in less serious cases, cause a mild malady, while in serious cases, the patient may suffer a dramatic change of personality and fall seriously ill. Mr. Krossel, were you aware of these peculiar properties of Smaragdus Jadeite?
I had no idea.
No idea, you say? I'd guessed as much. But for you to have rented out such a dangerous item, I'm afraid that this falls outside the scope of my work, but within that of the Ministry of Civil Affairs. However, I'm sure that the Ministry will be relatively lenient considering that, as you say, you were ignorant of the danger you posed. Don't worry, Mr. Krossel. I will make sure that all the evidence presented here will be handed over to the Ministry. I trust that you'll give them your full cooperation in their investigations.
Wait! I knew.
Oh, so you knew? Oh, dear Mr. Krossel. But if you knew of
¿Por qué
Smaragdus
comercializa
Jadeite's
un
dangerous
material
properties
tan
beforehand,
peligroso?
why would you...
Huh? No, The hairpins aren't actually...
aren't actually inlaid with genuine Smaragdus Jadeite? Is that what you were about to say? You do understand, Mr. Krossel, that this means that you will have to pay Ms. Sirchow 10 times the original price in Mora? Mr. Krossel, your answer, please. My...
Señores, el jurado declara de que el acusado es culpable.
Yamp, he's seriously intimidating right now. It's like she's a different person.
Así son los abogados, así son de intimidantes.
I admit it. I confess. The ore I had inlaid on those hairpins was Smaragdus Nephrite.
Ah, puta, verdad, tenía que esperar a que el acusado confiese. Es que hace mucho tiempo que no juego Ace Attorney y hace mucho tiempo que no veo un juicio. El último juicio que he visto literalmente ha sido el juicio ese que le han hecho a Alberto Fujimori. Lo pasaban literalmente antes de Pokémon. Lo pasaban antes de Pokémon en el canal 5, me acuerdo.
But I'm a victim in all of this too. I invested a great deal of time and money into acquiring that small amount of Smaragdus Jadeite, in the hopes of turning it into a piece of jewelry that would fetch a fine price.
Disculpa, Carrion, pero un trato es un trato. Tiene que pagar.
But after receiving it and carrying it around for a few days, I started to feel extreme discomfort. I couldn't sleep a wink or eat a single bite. I was in a constant state of agitation too.
Le dio ansiedad por
I
tocar
went
una
to the
gema.
pharmacy to get myself checked out, only to discover that this sort of stone cannot be worn as jewelry. But how could I let all that money go to waste? That's why I had another pair of hairpins made from smaragdus nephrite, which is almost indistinguishable from smaragdus jadeite. I kept the real smaragdus jadeite in a specially made box. I daren't touch it again. I was worried that someone would see through it, which is why I only dared to rent them out, not sell them. And then to top it all off, Zhiqiao lost the hairpins after I rented them out to her.
Entonces quería hacer fraude.
Exactly. If they weren't the real deal, why'd you make her pay so much?
I didn't want to either.
Ajá,
But when
sí,
I
eso
purchased
nadie
that
se la
smaragdus
cree.
jadeite, some of my business partners found out. I knew they'd be watching closely to see how much I could make off it. If word got out that I sold a pair of fake hairpins, then my days in this line of business would be over.
Sí, ya están acabados
Alright,
desde ese instante.
Let's cut the appeals phase right there. I failed to see what bearing any of this has on your transaction with my client. According to the contract, you must pay Mr. Chow 10 times the original price in Mora, and that is final.
Sí, tu asunto con tu comprador ese que habrás hecho en algún otro país no es ese asunto de ese país. Acá estamos bajo la legislatura de la santísima y sacramentada Constitución del Vive. Y esa Constitución dice, si haces un contrato, tienes que respetarlo. Caso contrario, hay tabla.
10 times?
Yep, he's dead.
Kross looks like he could faint any second.
Sí, parece que se va a ir a Monday Night Raw dentro de poco.
As for me, according to my contract with Mr. Chow, 20% of that sum will go to me.
Yay.
20%? That's as much as I spent on that smaragdus jadeite.
There's no need. It's fine. You don't have to pay me that much, Mora.
Sí, Chao, no seas así de bajar los decibeles. Ese pata te ha defraudado, ese pata te ha pasado por una situación mental bastante cabrona. No merece perdón, deberías exigir por lo menos 10. Que te pague 10 veces la cantidad. Y en todo caso, si es que quieres así ser más generosa, que te devuelva el 99.9%. Con esta clase de gente hay que ser duras.
I still bear responsibility for losing them. Legally or not, I think I owe some compensation for that.
Ms. Zhiqiao, you...
However, Mr. Kross, since you have no use for that chunk of smaragdus jadeite, why don't you give it to me instead? I'll consider us even.
What? But all right then. This cursed rock's brought me enough grief as it is.
Miss Yunfei, I'll turn this smaragdus jadeite over to you.
Es
I
justo
trust
lo
that it
que
will suffice as
necesitamos.
remuneration?
Well, that's not quite how the rules say this should go. But whatever, it'll do.
Thanks so much for your help this time, Miss Yunfei. When you have the time, I'll be sure to visit and express my thanks more appropriately.
Oh, come on. No need to stand on ceremony. Now, if I may confirm this again, Mr. Chow, have you and Mr. Kross come to an understanding?
Well, yes, I believe we have.
Well then, that's good. Mr. Kross, it seems that my client has no further claims against you.
Is that so? That's good.
Actually, Mr. Kross, I'd like to talk business for a second if I may. I could see from the hairpins you produce that you're very skilled in jewelry design. My family, on the other hand, works in the ore business, and we have a fair stock of fine ores. If we could join forces, your jewelry designs and our choice ores, I think we could do some fine business between us.
Let me think for a moment.
Sí, que lo piense todo eso, porque ya tenemos la jareita. Yeah.
Well, that's that. And we've got the smaragdus jadeite that Granny wants too. All's well that ends well, eh?
Nos encontramos con unos inconvenientes, pero eso no importa, weón. No importa, la cosa es que la ley se ha cumplido al pie de la letra.
They've lost something, we end up searching all over the place for it. But this time, you managed to solve the problem with just a big stack of documents.
Es el poder de las leyes. Ok, no.
Even though the solution didn't involve actually finding the hairpins.
Yep.
The right solution depends on your perspective on the problem.
Eso me lo decían a mí antes, pero ahora como que quieren que hagamos un procedimiento así de simple. Diseño de electrónica básica es un infierno.
The objective of my client, Mr. Chow,
Es lo que me
was
quita
to
puntos
reduce
en las
her liability
prácticas.
to pay compensation. So, rather than looking high and low for some hairpins, proving that the rented item was nowhere near worth what the vendor had claimed it to be was the more efficient solution.
Nunca había visto un adeptus así, o bueno, semi-adeptus.
An adeptus. Speaking of, you took part in that battle, didn't you? In which case, you would have heard what Granny said.
Ajá.
Liyue Harbor is now a city ruled by humans. The title of Adeptus means precious little to me compared to my job as a legal advisor. In any case, don't you think that the Liyue Harbor of today needs legal consultancy far more than it needs adeptal powers?
Lo que Liyue ahorita necesita más es una constitución y una monarquía constitucional.
Paimon can think of someone who would definitely disagree with your reasoning.
Esto ya no tiene una explicación racional.
Well, since we got what we came for, it's time to pay Granny a visit. I bet she's been on tenterhooks for a while now.
Vamos donde la abuela. Está por aquí, supongo. Sí, acá está. La madre, no quería pisar la mesa, pero bueno. Tenemos a Jareita.
Ah, you've returned. How did it go? Were you able to find the Smaragdus Jadeite?
Sí, todo gracias a Janfi.
Good, good. Then we have all the materials we need.
Well, if we're all set, Granny, I'll get going now. Got a ton of clients waiting for me back at the office.
Oh, you. All right then. Go see to your business. Granny should be able to handle the rest.
I'm off then. Bye! Oh yes, Traveler. Make sure you don't lose the business card I gave you.
Ok, la necesitaré cuando la universidad me prácticamente demande por algo.
I've been looking into the laws of other nations as well. If you should ever bump into any trouble with the law, come find me directly. Regulars get discounts too.
Amiga, te vas a divertir cuando te llame para que estudies toda la maldita constitución del país y para ese entonces haya una nueva. Que sea con más cagada que la actual, huevón. Vas a divertirte bastante.
Come now, child. Are you leaving or are you not? If you have no wish to leave, perhaps you'd like to help me clean my teapot, hmm?
I'm leaving.
Sí.
I'm leaving.
Sí. Y se marchó y su barco se llamó Libertad.
That child. Goodness knows where she learned to be so rambunctious. Her father was hardly so riotous or fond of talking nonsense back in the day when he stood beside Rex Lapis.
Again, no es una adeptus, es una semi-adeptus y es verdaderamente única, sí, porque tiene características humanas, tiene empatía y otros sentimientos.
Ah, indeed she is.
Como el espíritu libre.
Liyue has changed, and the Adepti must also.
No, espera,
learn to
se llama libre
change.
albedrío, ¿verdad? Como sea.
Yanfei might be overly garrulous, but she is also the most intimately acquainted with the city among us all.
Claro, está en sus genes.
Ah, Liyue is not the same place I once knew.
Y nunca lo volverá a hacer.
All right then, let us speak of this no more. Back on topic. I believe that I still owe you a little gift.
Oh, Paimon's so excited! How is it made?
¿Cuánto tardará?
It is but a single teapot. It shan't take long at all. Just wait here for a moment. There we go.
Finally.
This Serenity pot is
My
all
home.
yours now. Hold it firmly. If you were to drop it, oh goodness, who knows what might happen.
Now I'm a genius.
Take these blueprints with you as well. You'll need them if you wish to make your teapot a little more lively inside.
Muchísimas gracias.
Wait a minute, Granny. How exactly are we supposed to use this teapot?
La frotamos y entramos ahí. Somos un fucking genios ahora. Como el de Aladdin, la película original. Aunque la versión live action.
I've already arranged for
ya 6 de 10.
certain little helper to await you within this teapot. She will explain everything you need to know about it.
Great. Y ya tenemos una relajaterra. Ya tenemos casa. Ya puedo hacer mis planos. Presiona B para abrir el inventario. A ver qué dice el inventario. Y me dan muchas cosas. A ver qué pasa que si le doy a B. Dar la pestaña de artilugios. Y haz clic para colocar la relajaterra. Ok. Ah, y ahí por entrar. Excelente, excelente. Eso ya lo haré en otro episodio, porque ahorita creo que se me está alargando el video y quiero... De verdad, quiero que el siguiente episodio va a ser literalmente un homenaje a todos los programas de diseño de hogares que ve mi madre. Porque aparte de ver programas de cocina, le encanta ver programas de diseño de hogares. En especial, no sé si habrán oído hablar de los hermanos Scott, esos de Hermanos a la Obra Desafío. Eso le encanta ver mucho a mi madre. Literalmente es sin de esos dos conches sumares, pero no importa. La cosa es que voy a dejar el video hasta acá. En el siguiente vamos a entrar en la Relajaterra. Y bueno, espero que os haya gustado. Sobre Yanfei, me parece un buen personaje. Espero que algún día me salga en el gacha. Y bueno, hasta aquí Vampire y nos vemos.